In this lesson, I want to talk to you guys about setting up your business and setting up your Seller Central account. Now, you actually don't have to do this step at this part of the process. You can wait until after you found the product that you want to sell on Amazon, you've ordered it from your factory. However, what I've found is most people start asking me about these questions now. It's an area that feels a little bit scary to them, and they're not quite sure. They feel like they can't start yet because they haven't figured all this out. So that's why I want to explain this information at this part of the course, but you don't actually need the Seller Central account or a business entity or anything like that until your goods essentially leave China, assuming that you're going to order them from there. But all that being said, let's dive into it. So in order to sign up for an account on Seller Central, they're going to ask you for a legal name, an address, a display name, phone number, credit card, bank account, and you're going to then have to go through a tax interview type process. I will walk you through each of these steps, so don't worry. And then for anyone who doesn't live in the US, I'm going to record an additional lesson and put it after this one to give you a few tips for setting this up when you don't live inside of the US. To sign up for a Seller Central account, services.amazon.com. And once you get there, you're going to see that there are two different plans. The individual plan on the left, it's free, but each time you make a sale, it's an additional 99 cents. And as you can read in the fine print, there are some other limitations, like you can't sell in some categories. Alternatively, a professional plan, $40 a month, but no additional fee per sale. And this is ultimately what you're going to want to go with, because the plan will definitely be to make more than 40 sales per month, which means it's essentially paying for itself. But let's dive into these a little bit more. After you go to the website, you're going to see something like similar to this. You can choose whatever marketplace you'd like to sell in, hit start selling. After that, I would say go ahead and just sign up for the individual plan for now, because there's no need for you to start paying the $40 per month yet. So down here, it says if you just have a few items to sell, it's kind of in the fine print, but you can find it. Sign up to become an individual seller. I would actually recommend for you to create a new Amazon account, even if you already have one. So down the bottom, you say new to Amazon, create your Amazon account. And this just keeps your Amazon shopper consumer account separate from your Amazon seller account. This is something that I didn't originally do, and I learned this the hard way. I had to go back, and I ended up essentially just shutting down my consumer account because it was easier and creating a new one. But then I lost all my Kindle books and a whole bunch of other stuff like that. So just go ahead and just create a new account right now for your business. After that, you'll log in, and then you get to the setup wizard for this particular step. The first thing it's going to ask for is your legal name. If you are a US citizen, or probably like a green card holder or some of those, then you can sign up as an individual instead of as a business. For everyone else, or if you'd rather sign up for a business, you are going to have to enter your business entity legal name here. Now, let me talk to you just for 1 minute about the difference of signing up for an individual versus a business. I'm not a lawyer to start, but I do feel like I have a decent understanding of this. By creating a legal entity, most commonly an LLC, which is the most simple form of a legal entity in the US, there's a few benefits associated with it. Benefits aren't necessarily a huge deal, but there are some reasons that I kind of like them. One of the bigger benefits is by creating an LLC, your business you can think of as a separate entity, and it shields you from any liabilities, both because you were getting sued because someone poked their eye out with your product. Alternatively, I believe like debt collectors, they can't go over you as an individual, it's just as a business. It's primarily that first one that gives you the benefit, but then also there are benefits like it allows you to open up a business banking account. It allows you to apply for business credit cards. Some companies, for example, freight forwarders, will ask for you to, or they require for you to have a business entity set up. So there are some benefits associated with it. Now you can set one up for pretty inexpensive and it's very easy. It also doesn't complicate taxes or anything very much if you're a single member LLC, which just means that you're a single person that owns this LLC. If you're pretty serious about this business, and I think most of you guys are, and you're definitely going to invest the time and brain power to make this work, I would actually recommend going ahead and setting up an LLC right now. I think you can do so for about 75 bucks. So it's pretty cheap, it's easy, and there's those benefits associated with it. If you're really just like, man, I really just want to kick the tires, I just want to kind of test this all out, then you can, and you're from the US, then you can sign up as just an individual. But like I said, for most people here, I'd recommend setting up an LLC. When you're thinking of what name to use for your LLC, it actually doesn't really matter at all. So you don't have to use this name for any part of your, this doesn't have to be displayed to customers anywhere. This also doesn't have to be the name of your brand that you're using for your product, okay? So what I would recommend is you set up your LLC that actually is not the same name as your Amazon seller account, and it's also not the same name as your brand. So for me, if I was going and I was starting this all over today and I was setting up an LLC, I would just use something like my, just essentially like whatever you want, right? So let's see, the name of your favorite type of dog or city or a word that's something special to you. It honestly just doesn't really matter. So you can just kind of create it whatever you want. So we'll pretend my LLC's name is Greg 1 2 3 4 5 whatever, it doesn't matter. I have different advice for you when it comes time to set up the name of your Amazon store and the name of your brand. However, for your LLC, it doesn't really matter. So I personally prefer Wyoming LLCs. You can read online about different LLCs in different states. I think there are a few states like California that require you or may require you to have an LLC in that state. At least that's what they want you to believe. But pretty much for everyone, honestly, even probably for most Californians, again, I'm not a lawyer, so don't take this as legal advice, but I'm fairly confident, I would just probably go for a Wyoming LLC. It's really easy. And then after that, you sign up for an EIN number, which is essentially just how the US government, how you're registered in their system to pay taxes. It's free. It only takes 3 minutes to fill out the form once you have your LLC. So it's very easy to do, quick, it's free, and then this is the number that you'll need. There are lots more complicated legal structures like partnerships, corporations, S corporations, probably a couple other ones I'm not even thinking about. But unless you're very familiar with them or have a reason to want to go for those, I don't recommend them. I would just recommend to keep things simple. Single member, LLC. I prefer Wyoming, but there's some other states, if you want to read online about, are also fairly beneficial. I listed out a lot of the benefits of an LLC. Feel free to pause and read through all the fine print here, but I think I covered most of that. Looks like the cost is $150 to set up. They're not $75 if you use this service, but all this stuff is fairly simple and straightforward. So after you have registered for your LLC, or if you've chosen to be registered as an individual human, you're gonna enter that, and then you're gonna be on to step 2 of the Seller Central sign-up flow. Real quick, if you're registering, or if you're not a US citizen or don't live here, then you will have to sign up for a business entity like an LLC, and I'll cover some more of those details in the next video that I do specifically for our friends outside of the US border. After that, add your address. It doesn't even have to be in the US, it can be anywhere your normal address. Choose your business display name. For your business display name, this is what customers can see, but no customers look at it. It doesn't matter. So if my LLC was Greg 1 2 3 4 5, I would probably name my business display name, which you can always change at any time, just anything like best deals, great store, whatever. This stuff, it doesn't matter. No one's gonna read this. And this is not what's gonna show up as the brand for your product, okay? So really choose whatever business name you want here. And again, I wouldn't even recommend using any of your brand names or any ideas about your brand name. So like your LLC, doesn't matter. It can be any name you want. No one will ever see that. Display name, customers will see that, but no one ever looks at it. So at the same time, it doesn't really matter. So you can enter just whatever your heart desires right there. You don't even have to enter the website like it asks for. You will have to enter a cell phone number. They're gonna text you to verify that it's real. After that, you're gonna see something like this, and then you can move on to the next section. The next section, you will need a valid credit card. Sometimes debit cards do work. However, they require a credit card, and I actually would go ahead and use a credit card because you want to make sure that it never gets declined. Otherwise, it's kind of a big hassle. And I think they do try to verify that it is a credit card, not a debit card. So if at all possible, get a credit card to use for it. If you decide to get a LLC, you can even sign up for a new credit card under that particular LLC. After that, you'll have to enter the bank information where your funds will be deposited. So this can either be your personal bank account, or what would be better would be to use a business bank account that you set up with this newly formed LLC. Unless you already have an LLC, you can use that one, that'd be fine too. That's where you're gonna enter it here. And like I said, this is where your funds are gonna be deposited. So you wanna make sure to get that right. Lastly, you'll need to do a tax interview. The tax interview is essentially required by the US government to understand more who you are, and so that Amazon can report your sales essentially to the IRS. If you either signed up as an individual or a single member LLC, you actually will choose individual. For US tax purposes, are you a US person? So I'm not a tax attorney, but the way I understand it is essentially if you live in the US or you're a US citizen that owes taxes to the US, then yes, you are a US person. If you are not a US citizen and do not live in the US, then no, you would not be a US person. And essentially that's telling Amazon that they, what I believe, again, not a tax attorney, that they don't report the sales to the IRS essentially because you're not a US person, so they're not gonna be looking for income tax on those sales. Inside of the tax identity information, oh, there we go. If you don't know, you can look at the little tooltip here, and yeah, it looks like what I just said was accurate. It looks like they even have a little test if you're not sure because it's some kind of edge case. Then you're gonna have to enter the tax identity information. The name is going to be your LLC or your personal name. If it's your LLC name, then you're going to use your EIN number down here. If it's your personal name, and that's what you put on your tax return, then it's going to be your social security number, and you enter your social security number here, okay? Again, if you don't live in the US, I'll do another little video about this, but essentially you're going to have to use an LLC and get an EIN number. And that ultimately is all there is to it. After that, they might ask you a few more questions that ask like what kind of products you like to sell, blah, 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 blah. None of that stuff really matters. It's not a big deal. After that, you're gonna be into Seller Central, and that's essentially where you're gonna create your listings, you're gonna do your PPC, and that's a little bit of like a command center that you're gonna be using to run your Amazon business. Now, a few questions that I very, very commonly get are, I live in another country, what marketplace do you recommend I sell in? Or even if I live in the US, what marketplace do you recommend that I sell in? If you live in the US, I recommend you sell in the US. If you live in any other country that Amazon has a marketplace in your country, then I probably recommend for you to sell in your local country as long as it seems easier for you. So if it seems easier and less scary and easier for you to set up, if you live in the UK to create a UK account, if you live in Canada to create a Canada account, then I would recommend you do so. all Amazon marketplaces have enough demand to make a substantial amount of sales in certain categories and with certain items. The type of item is going to be different depending on what marketplace it is, but they all have enough demand that you can make a significant amount of sales. If you live in a country that does not have Amazon, I would probably recommend for you to just sell in the US marketplace. Okay, so it's a very common question I get. A lot of the other common questions I get are around tips if you live outside the US. And like I said, I'll make a video for that to follow this one. One last tip or thought I want to leave you with is oftentimes the process of getting verified can be frustrating. Amazon has different laws to follow, and there's laws like a KYC, know your customer laws. They want to make sure you really are who you say you are. So oftentimes they'll ask for you to submit things like a copy of your driver's license or passport, or a copy of a utility bill to show you really live at the address you put down, or maybe even some other things. And over the years, it does seem like this has they've gotten a little bit stricter, I guess, to prevent against fraud or anyone lying on these applications. So you definitely want to be 100% truthful when you fill out these applications, because there's a really good chance that they will ask you to verify certain pieces of it. So hang in there. Just know this pretty much happens to everyone. It can be a little bit frustrating, but just get the documents together, get them sent in. It's not a big deal. And after that, they won't ask you for it again. Good luck. Have fun setting this up. And then after this, you'll be all set, and it's all fun from here. So I'll see you in the next lesson.